We're hamming it up tonight.
It's good.
I'm always ham. Just slice me off a pig's butt.
Okay, I'm going to ignore what you just said.
If I don't get him to say that at least twice every time I see him.
He's so happy when he does it. He's just so...
I am.
Welcome to the podcast. We are the Casual Fanatics, and this is our other podcast called the Discomfort Zone. This is the podcast where we like to take things that we really don't care for very much and kind of have pushed away, but we need to go back and revisit because they have artistic merits, and basically we need to, get out of our comfort zone. So in this first episode of the Discomfort Zone, we're going to talk about what it is that we really enjoy and the properties that we really don't enjoy, and talk about why it is that we like to challenge each other to these kinds of insane things. That way you guys get a good perspective on what it is we're going to get challenged to and why it's so hard for us. I am Paul Stadden, this is Sydney Johnson, and Jeremy Brazell. We are the Casual Fanatics.
Hello.
Howdy. So, look, I don't know about you guys. We have gone through some challenges kind of leading up to this episode. And I'm glad we're doing this kind of as a first icebreaker to really give people an insight into why these things are so tough. I think it also makes sense that we've gone through some of these challenges because we can really get some insight into the kind of challenges, how sadistic we are to each other.
It's bad.
We're bad to each other on this podcast.
I don't even mean to be.
We created this legit as an excuse to torture one another, and we weren't even aware we wanted to do that.
But it's so joyous when you take something that you love so much and inflict it upon someone.
Who hates it?
Who just hates it to their core, and just seeing them squirm with it. Although sometimes, it can be tough when you really love something and you want someone else to love it and they don't. Which is why we try not to tear the things down. We try. We're still gonna.
We're failing.
But
there was a failure on the Bright Eyes part.
Yes. I did not find many redeeming qualities in that.
That was vicious.
But let's talk about, kind of where we come from artistically and what are the things that we really enjoy and why. And then we can kind of get into what we don't really like very much. So me, I absolutely love, I'm a musician. You probably see a couple of guitars in the background. So for me, I love rock. I love rock and metal. I grew up listening to Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin and Judas Priest, and slowly transitioned kind of my genre that I really loved was stoner doom. And I also came from a classical background. My degree is in classical guitar. I love classical music. Love Bach, especially the Baroque era in particular. Adore. As for music, I don't really care for. The thing is, there are pockets of things in each genre that I really like.
Okay.
Like there are individual songs sometimes, maybe an artist in a genre that for some reason they just really grip me. So that's one of the actually it was kind of that left me really wanting to do this, and why when we were talking about ideas for the podcast, it was just something that was sticking in my head, was because why do I like this but not this?
Why do you love NSYNC but not Backstreet Boys?
Don't you dare start that dirty, non-true rumor. But although that is a kind of a good example of the dichotomy of the things like, why do I like the band Death, but I can't stand death metal, as a genre. But I love that band, and I don't know why. And so it's the kind of thing, those are the kind of dichotomies in my head that really got me okay, well, why do I want to do this? I love dystopic sci-fi, but not really horror. And they're really two sides of the same coin. They're pretty bleak, and there's not a lot of hope, and the characters usually die. But for some reason, dystopic, like Blade Runner, amazing.
Well, even things that we've talked about on episodes so far, you were describing the Max, which you challenged Jeremy to.
Yeah.
And I'm listening to you talk about it, and I'm like, that's weird. Because I know things that are really similar to that I know you absolutely hate.
But the Max I love.
That's not okay. Correct me if you think I'm wrong. You've seen both. I have not. But hearing you describe it, I'm there's a lot of the same elements in season 2 of American Horror Story. As far as the mental illness and the but you hate stuff like that, and I know I've challenged you to some dystopic sci-fi stuff that you
have.
can't stand.
cannot. Like, I hate Psychopaths.
You hate Psychopaths.
And the thing is,
We were doing this before we started the
Psychopaths is
podcast.
Actually, yeah. Thinking about you hating the Max and disliking Psychopaths, that's the weirder one to
It's
me
so
than
weird.
season 2
Yeah.
of American Horror Story.
like, and the thing is that there are all these pockets, and sometimes it comes down to individual little things that will happen where I'm like, no, that's not okay. In Psychopaths, I think it was.
Before you say what you're going to say, because I know what you're going to say.
Okay,
We've had this discussion.
We have a lot.
Because as I said, apparently we've been challenging each other to sadistic
years.
things for years.
This has been for years.
One of the things that I challenged Paul to, I fell in love with the show Psychopaths. Thank God you're a fan too. And the way I describe Psychopaths to people is it's like Equilibrium and Blade Runner had an anime love child.
That's pretty close.
And it's really not that far off.
And I love Equilibrium too, so I should love this.
And Blade Runner.
I don't know why. But that's the thing about it is that we all have these pockets of things that we don't like. And generally, I do like some kind of weirder. I love weird movies. I challenged you to watch the movie Metropolis, which is a 1927 silent black and white film that's 2.5 hours long. And I'm ADD. I shouldn't like it, but I love it. Like, I love Sleep's Dope Smoker, which is 63 minutes long. It's a song, one song. Love it. Could listen to it on repeat. But
Your
I know,
face is
I know.
priceless.
But the thing is, like, I like weird things. I like things that are kind of outside the norm and that kind of can grip you like that maybe not everybody likes, because there's still some holdover from the high school, like, oh, that's popular, then I won't like that. But I have had to come to grips.
You're still that person.
No, because I've had to come to grips over the years that, yeah, Creed's Human Clay actually is a pretty good album. So the thing is that...
But as long as we all agree to hate Nickelback.
Yeah. I don't hate them to the level that the popular culture likes to hate them.
I don't hate them that
I don't
much.
hate
They're
them
not
either.
that bad. They're just meh.
They're the most mediocre band of all time.
They are. They're the most average middle.
I think they've gotten worse.
But
So is there somebody more mediocre than them now?
No, I'm just saying
because
they've
they
gotten
are the
worse.
definition of mediocrity. They are the 100-point IQ of all music.
I like that.
They're the middle of the bell curve. So, but coming from a background, my parents are artists. My dad is a writer. My mom and stepdad, they're both art majors, art history. I have a music background, but I also love voiceover. I love cartoons, anything animated, and going over the history of animation, because I want to be nerdy about things. I kind of want to have this general knowledge about everything. I love just knowing about culture, even things I don't like. I want to know. Like, I don't like The Office, but I want to know about The Office.
He knows a lot more about The Office than I do.
Either of us.
And I can't stand that show. But it's one of those things where, like, I have this just driving curiosity, and even the things I don't like, I want to know about them. But the things I actually sit down and want to watch, and the games I want to play, it's such a weird mixed bag. Like, first-person shooters. I love first-person shooters. Can't stand Call of Duty. Can't stand, like, the archetypes of the genre now. Like, I just no, they don't do anything for me. But little weird, like the game ZPC, and you're gonna have to Google that, by the way, is a fascinating, weird, artsy game that is just, it's fun, it's neat, but it's these little pockets of weirdness that I think typify what I like. So Discomfort Zone has been a bit of a challenge, but I also am so in tune with what I hate. Like, I can't stand RPGs. I tried. Years ago, you told me to play Final Fantasy VII. I get why it's great. I know why it's great, but I can't play it. I got through, like, the first third of the first disc, and I found...
You didn't even make it through the first third. I hate to break it to you.
So when I got through the first 97 of the first disc, it was just... And I tried playing Assassin's Creed. Like, I mean, like, I see why it's great, but, like, I can't... Like, my games, and I don't know why.
You like weird games.
I do. Like, I played through Far Cry 2 several times, and that's the one everybody hates. I don't know why.
That's everyone's least favorite.
It's everyone's least favorite, and it's the one that I think is their crowning achievement. I love...
You sure it's not just you being a contrarian?
No, because I genuinely love it. And the thing is, I have really worked hard to not be a genuine contrarian. Like, if there's something pop culture that is generally like that, like I like Marvel movies. Like, I think they're great. They're fun. Like, I don't want to hate things just because they're popular. That's high school me. That's like high school Paul would never have done the Discomfort Zone. Because
True.
never, ever would have put himself through that.
My taste is superior.
And that's how I was. I would get
too.
into arguments with people about what music is. Like, oh, you like rap? That's not music. I'm like, that's just a jerky attitude. What if there's some great rap? Because there are a couple of rap songs.
Genuinely great rap. There's some genuinely great,
In country, I don't like country as a genre, but I like some songs. So that's the thing is that I was the contrarian, and I wanted to like stuff that people didn't like, and I did find, and some of it was I genuinely liked this stuff that just nobody else was really into, and I found out later that like the stuff that I rebelled against, like, oh, you all like grunge. Well, I'm not going to like grunge. Well, I later found out that Soundgarden is amazing and Alice in Chains is amazing. And these bands that I would reject because they were popular, I had to go back and like, oh no, these are actually amazing things. So I try to, if it's something that's that's mainstream, that's really great, I want to acknowledge it and I want to like it. And because I believe that the best art is the one that entertains you and makes you think the most, and the one that you actually want to come back to and enjoy. Like I think that Boston, their first album, okay, yeah, people might look at it as a popcorn fluff kind of music. I think it's way better than Nirvana's Nevermind. People may love Nirvana's Nevermind, but I think that, and we'll get into this at some point, I'm sure, but Kurt Cobain and his thoughts on Boston being fluff, there's a lot that I could get into there. But that's the thing about it is I want to know.
He was just being a contrarian too.
He was being a contrarian. And I think that was that attitude that I saw in him and people like that made me not want to be like that anymore. That if something's great, I don't care if it's popular. If it's popular, fine. If there's a girl walking along with a Metallica t-shirt and she doesn't listen to Metallica, fine. That's a billboard for my band that I like. People are going to see that and say, oh, Metallica, cool. I don't want to be with people, oh, you're not a fan of the band. You shouldn't wear the shirt, man. Like, let her wear the shirt. It advertises your favorite band.
Do what you want to do.
Do what you want to do.
Everyone can do what they want.
I've missed so many cool things.
Whatever. I do what I want.
Exactly. I've missed so many cool things. It's like Patton Oswalt yelled at a heckler. He said, you're going to miss everything cool and die angry. And I don't want to be that dude.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the other thing. Stand-up comedians. I love stand-up comedy. Adore it. But there are some, like, I don't know why. Like this guy who's really popular, can't stand him. This other guy who's exactly like him, love him. Hate George Carlin, love Louis C.K. I know. I don't know.
One day we got to talk about that.
I don't know.
That right
We'll
there.
have to figure it out. I don't know. So
wow, sorry, that hit me.
So
Go on.
So I think maybe in this trio, maybe I represent the weird dichotomy of the I can't believe you don't like that, because I get that a lot.
We constantly say that about Paul.
Or
I can't believe it's not butter.
Yeah. I'm the I can't believe it's not butter of this, where it's like this, but not this. I don't get it. And I'm like, I'm trying to get it too. That's part of why we're doing this. I'm trying to figure it out me.
Who am I? This is if you have an existential crisis, come here. Listen to us.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. And it's all the discussions about that it's hard to have those discussions. And how do you explore those things?
Right. And how do you get challenged? How do you even know what you don't know?
How do you force yourself to get into something?
Yeah, like I didn't know that I would watch American Horror Story at season 3 and love it. I didn't know that. And you don't challenge yourself to these things. You have to be challenged externally. So I am the dichotomy in this show.
So
we gotta
based on that,
yeah,
I'll take this tack. I'm not quite exactly your opposite, but a little bit.
Okay.
Where Paul and I are very similar in that I'll say, like you, I tend to like pockets of things within things. Like,
yeah.
I get very kind of specific about little subgenres and things that I like. Music is a weird one. Like, I like a certain range of interesting sounds. As we said earlier, all music is interesting sounds.
Yeah. You said, this is just interesting sounds. Like, that's what music is. It's interesting sounds.
But I'm very
plus
persnickety.
moments of no sounds.
Plus moments of no sounds, yeah.
I'm very persnickety about what I like within things. I'll say I'm your opposite in that I've become almost pretentious in my consummation of media and music and movies and just everything. And part of the reason is like for me, as I've gotten older and as I've gotten into my business and job and life has changed, I find myself not having the time that I once did. First of all, not that I feel like I've ever had very much time for it, but I certainly don't even have the time that I did. And so I almost started doing the opposite of you, whereas you're like, I don't want to miss the cool things.
Right.
I'm sort of at a disadvantage sometimes with you guys because I consume things after everyone else has given their opinions.
You're a
like
late
I'll
adopter.
wait. I am the late adapter. I want to see what's good and like pick from that so I can cherry pick my entertainment.
fair.
And I literally got to the point like about a year ago, I was going through my movies and just throwing out movies that I'm like, I'm never gonna, why would I spend my time watching this? And that's why I'm so particular about what media I consume. And we used to have, you didn't know it, but we were kind of having all out wars on this level at one point in time because it got to where you would suggest things to me and you'd be like, it's amazing, you gotta see it.
Right.
And I would not watch it on the basis that you were trying to get me to watch it.
And I tried so
That
hard with the
happens.
things you would recommend to me. Oh my
The
gosh.
harder he would try, the more determined I would like dig my heels in not to watch or like the thing.
And it's just because I just started feeling such guilt. Like I gotta at least try Assassin's Creed. Like I gotta at least figure
The
out
early
why she
Assassin's
likes this.
Creed.
And I would play it for like
not as
10
good as it used
minutes,
to
and I'd
be.
be like, "Ah, Lord, I just want to shoot things with a BFG and Doom right now."
That's where we're very different in video games.
What's funny is like it is a very action-oriented game.
It is. It's a great game.
It's dichotomy.
With great
I'm the
philosophy.
dichotomy guy.
At least the
covered this.
early ones. He is the dichotomy guy. I would say I'm the late adapter / pretentious one.
That's fair.
My background of if we're talking about things we like versus things that we hate. I've always been a gamer. I played video games since I was literally 3 years old. I got a Super Nintendo. I have played video games ever since. I love the storytelling in video games. I love the capacity that it has to tell like deep, meaningful tales that when we were growing up, certainly now TV shows, okay, they're getting a little closer. But stories you just couldn't tell in a movie. And TV was not what it is now, let's be real, as far as storytelling. So I have a real background being around in video games, but a very different type of video game than you. I'm very much about the story-driven video game. I grew up playing old school JRPGs on the PS1 with like the golden era for me. I still love those games.
Gosh.
That's my favorite era as well.
It's the best games.
Oh, yeah.
It's the best games. PS2 had some good ones too.
If
And
you
then
pan the camera over a little bit, you'll see the Sonic the Hedgehog stuff I have just off camera to tell you the kind of games. It's all speed and action for me.
if it's not flashy, Paul doesn't like it.
Exactly right.
That's the problem.
That's why Assassin's
trying to
Creed
feed him
is
story.
Assassin's Creed's not very flashy.
My lizard brain just being like shiny.
Well, and if you played the first one, I'm gonna be real. Like the first one is very monotonous,
Oh,
even
yeah.
for hardcore fans.
Yeah.
That
Like,
one's very repetitive.
it's
yeah.
super repetitive.
Are you gonna? This is gonna be your cheesecake? Is Assassin's Creed?
No.
Oh, you have to try Assassin's Creed
No.
too. You're gonna love it.
It's-
I just gotta
2
come
is
try
the
it.
best one.
2 is the best one, but I will say the series has fluctuated over the years, without giving away too much of what I like and what I don't.
Yeah.
I love the philosophy of Assassin's Creed, and that's the
Yeah,
thing that I'm
that's fair.
drawn to in storytelling. It's the psychology and the philosophy behind things. I'm really drawn to like dark, gritty TV shows like Hannibal. I like American Horror Story. It's not my favorite. That's why I challenged you to it. It's
And
the
it
early
hurt.
seasons were very
First
psychological.
season hurt.
But I find myself drawn to philosophy and psychology and things. That's why I love things like Psychopaths. That's why I actually watched Equilibrium this morning.
Oh, so good.
I don't know why I just turned it on, but I haven't watched it
I
in
know
a
why. It's
while.
awesome.
And it was on Netflix, so
Yeah.
it and Blade Runner are on Netflix right now.
As
That's
long
right,
as
the
it's
final
on
cut.
The final
Netflix,
cut,
you know.
yeah.
Which we'll argue about what the superior
One day.
Blade Runner is at some point. I argue the original theatrical release with the voiceover and the green ending. That's not the popular view.
But I feel like we have some genre
dichotomy.
similarities.
The dichotomy.
We probably all do. I feel like you and I, though, with what you've talked about, have some genre similarities.
Yeah.
I love dystopic futures.
Yes.
I lean more towards fantasy than sci-fi. I always have. I like a good sci-fi, and I like a blend of the two. If I had to pick one to be on an island with, other than games, like I do love books. I don't get to read as much as I did just for lack of time.
Yeah.
I wish I read more. I love TV shows more than movies, which is really interesting considering I almost went to film school.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, movies as a medium have pretty much been thrown out the window for me. They don't interest me anymore. I'm not saying there aren't good movies. There are good movies.
Right.
But like as a medium, I don't find it interesting at this point in time. Generally, the stories they try and tell, they don't have enough time. And as you can tell, I'm obviously a story-driven human.
Yeah.
These guys are all about shooters, and I'm over here like, no, I'll just like happily wind my way through this.
I'm not a big.
World.
I'm not a big into shooters.
But you have
actually,
specific ones you like.
Well, you're
There's specific
first-person horror games, which I basically are the same thing apparently when it
Right.
applies to me.
Oh, yeah.
Their favorite thing to do is torture me with first-person horror
And
games.
she's getting challenged to
A lot of things.
a lot of things.
Anything else you can think of that I've
I mean,
drifted off?
well, opera actually is a kind of interesting area where,
Opera's how we got here.
yeah, opera is actually how we got here.
5 years too late
5
or
years too late,
something.
I know, but I think that's a fascinating part of what you like because that's not something that you think of people under the age of 50 as really liking opera, you know. But that's something that we actually kind of bonded over because I was a classical guitar player, and Jeremy actually loves. He loves everything. Actually, all music.
Jeremy likes a lot of
He
things.
just loves music in general. But we've all
we'll
gone
get
to the opera
to
together.
me soon here.
Yeah, we'll get to you, but we have all gone to the opera together.
But yeah, definitely have a grounding in kind of fine artworks like that. I like
It's a pageantry thing.
I
think.
like art forms that are collaborative.
Yeah.
I'm on the side a cosplayer. I haven't gotten to do it as much in recent years because of the time consuming nature of it. I love the elements of building costumes. When I was in film school, what I really thought I wanted to do was be in costumes and props. It's just a thing about building the world and telling the story through objects that fascinates me. And so when I was introduced to opera about the time I was in college, it was literally this beautiful marriage of like acting and storytelling and costume and music and the ability to tell a story even if someone doesn't know the language. It's a gut-wrenching thing for me. I love it.
That's kind of why I thought you might like some silent film because with opera, with not knowing the language, it is like pantomime at that point.
It is. And I think part of what gets to me about opera as opposed to say silent film, I'll bring up a point in a second here, but opera is so based in emotion and it's so based in the simplicity of a story that everybody can relate to. Opera stories are not complicated.
No, they're not.
They can't
He likes
be.
her, but she doesn't.
They can't be. If it's a comedy, everyone gets married. If it's a tragedy, everyone dies. That is how you know what kind of opera you're watching.
Opera 101.
That's it. And there's a simplicity to the story, but there's also a like a deep abiding relatability to that story. And one of my issues with Metropolis, and I jokingly said I'm docking points for a silent film having to give me dialogue boxes.
Yeah.
Because at that point I grew up on JRPGs. That's not silent, dude. I'm reading. Like,
It's fair.
but I'm docking points because if the story is more complicated than that, it's in the wrong medium, in my opinion. When you challenged me to silent film, I really expected it to be like, oh, this should be something I can understand from basically any viewpoint. And like that is a complex silent film.
I gave you the hardest one.
That is very
I
difficult.
admit I gave you the hardest one.
With elements of all the things that I love. Like
I know.
It's
That's the tough thing about
dystopic
the Discomfort Zone.
utopia and like I love worlds that are supposed to be perfect that are terrible.
But that's the thing about the Discomfort Zone. Is sometimes we're going to surprise ourselves. That's the fun of it, is that we get surprised even among the things we think we're going to like or we think we're going to hate. You know, that's the way it's supposed to go.
But genres, I would say, you can probably help me with that. You know, you've known me long enough. But I love psychological thriller. Like I said, obsessed with Hannibal, the TV show, and before that, the books and the movies.
Love anime.
Anime is a medium.
It depends on the anime.
Anime is a medium. I love what we've gotten out of anime in the last several years because there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like gritty, dark adult TV in anime that I think is dismissed.
Yeah.
Once again, with a lot of psychology and a lot of philosophy, and a lot of beautiful storytelling in an unexpected medium.
Yeah.
But I also think there's a lot of campy anime.
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, that's something you can challenge me to later. Is like if I have to
campy
watch
anime?
Trigun, I'm gonna kill myself. I think.
I won't make you watch Trigun. I don't like
Please,
Trigun.
thank you.
I would probably do something a little easier to consume, like My Hero Academia, something like
You
that.
are loving that show right now.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't even watched a single episode of season
You haven't.
4.
You've been talking about it for like 2 weeks now.
No, season 4, but
Oh.
I need to catch up to it. But it has a great story. Has every character, you understand their motivations, but
Well,
we can get into it more.
next question, Sydney. Do you have anything else you want to add before we
No, go on.
we get to
Jeremy's turn.
Because Jeremy just his eyes lit up when he was talking about a thing.
He's so excited.
We need to get his motivations for talking about things.
Oh yeah, my motivations when I talk about things. Okay, so
Interesting way to phrase it. We're getting to know you for the discomfort zone and what makes you squirm and what makes
All right,
you.
Oh, I
so-
forgot. I forgot things I hate.
We know things you hate. We got to silent film. We got there. No, but well, actually, do you want to get to what does make you kind of what is your discomfort area?
I mean, well, you both know, and I hate to say it, like, I'm not a horror fan, but I'm really not. I hate horror. I hate most.
but you love Hannibal.
That's not horror. That's psychological thriller. There's a difference.
No, sorry.
No, that is like
Subtle difference.
genuine horror.
Subtle difference. These two seem to love challenging me to first person games and shooters. I don't know why they're torturing me that way.
But she hates them. She hates this amazing genre.
But anyway, I lost my train of thought there. But
It's,
I got so excited about hearing Jeremy talk about this show.
I know, but you had to talk about what you hated, though. We had to get. We
I
had
know.
To, we
We
had to
missed
get
a lot of
there.
it.
Here's a
Right.
debate I would have in the future is I personally don't believe psychological thriller is a genre. I think that is a fake moniker. I think everything
right.
that's actually psychological thriller is horror.
Then it's the only good horror.
Okay.
I've thought about this for a long time.
Okay.
I'll save it for another time.
We'll have that debate. Jeremy and I will have that debate.
All right.
But things I like, things I dislike. I, like they said a little bit earlier, I like pretty much everything. But there's things that make me squirm in the way I consume the media. What's funny is like what I like in my movies is the complete opposite of what I want in my TV shows. I love a good, deep movie that can tell me a strong story in 2.5 hours. When it comes to a TV show, I much prefer just sitting there and have it on in the background. I don't have to pay attention to it at all.
You shouldn't have told me that.
So,
You have absolutely opened some.
oh
floodgates
no,
here,
yeah,
friend.
that's exactly why I use that. I want to give y'all ideas. So it's like, of course, there's exceptions to this on both the movie and the TV side of things. Like movie side of things, I love the movie I Love You Man. That is a phenomenal.
No one has ever said that. Not in this room or among people we know. No
I know.
human has ever said that.
It's George Carlin's
phrase.
Things You Never Hear.
It is.
There's
It
a ton
is.
of people who love that movie.
Things you
It's
never
a
hear.
Paul Rudd is fantastic in that movie, and you do realize, you slap at the bass, and you have Rush in it.
Okay.
Okay,
More things you like.
yeah.
The band Rush. Not like he didn't mean like Rush Limbaugh makes an appearance. He means like the band Rush.
Geddy Lee,
Which he does
and
love.
Neil
He does love
Peart, and-
so much.
Oh yeah, I love
Even
that.
I knew
man.
that.
You're a drummer, so it makes sense.
Yeah,
Oh, God.
but
That's not what I expected, Jeremy.
And I love you, man. Like that's your go-to first movie you reference. Really loving in this conversation.
yeah,
Is
That's
I
not
love you,
in
man.
his
Take-
normal
take
deal.
it
Dinner for
within-
Schmucks was amazing. Like
take it within the context that I said it, though. I said there are
Sure.
things that I prefer in my movie something that is deep.
Okay.
There's things that aren't deep that are just fun, silly movies.
And that would be I Love You, Man.
I
That's
Love
fair.
You, Man.
That's fair.
It's just a fun, silly movie that I could throw in the background and just play.
We all have those. And
So then, like TV
That for
shows,
me is
I
Hannibal.
love TV shows like Game of Thrones and stuff like that.
right.
But it was very hard for me to get into, say, The Witcher, because it was not nearly as well put together as
I
Game
can
of
see that.
Thrones.
I can see that.
So
Jeremy likes to analyze things very deeply. I want to say that about you. I don't know if you'll ever say it about yourself, but we have to apply that to you.
We do.
Because I don't know if you guys can see on the camera every single time we do an episode, Jeremy has very well-written notes.
They are extensive.
Yeah.
Like, I feel bad because I don't do enough research.
I got
and
my
I
way
come
to
in here like
improvise.
legit half-cocked, and he's like, I have written a thesis.
Allow me to reference my
I'm
essay.
like, I thought about a thesis, and then I didn't
Yeah.
write it down.
I'm waiting for him to unfurl a scroll at some point.
Well,
I think
you
it'd
know,
look nice. It'd be a
I
good
had
visual.
started originally making, footnotes and things like that.
Right.
To make sure I got my references correct and things like that. So if anybody started asking questions, I'd refer to this place. But I thought it's like, you know what? I want to make this a little more casual, so I stopped. Like,
But that's good,
one of
though.
my
This
hobbies.
Is the thoroughness. This is the thoroughness. This is good. I like this.
One of my
I love
hobbies.
it.
One of my hobbies. Like, I love my passion is writing. I love writing research papers. It's a thing that I've liked ever since like middle school. Yeah. So
There'll be a series of blog posts linked to this podcast.
Yeah.
Written by Jeremy.
Oh goodness.
Click the little 42 there. You see.
Yeah, 42, the life of the universe and everything, right there.
There you go. It's going to be a lot of references are going to be thorough.
But yeah, so those are things is like music wise. I like pretty much any genre of music you could throw at me. But one thing I do say, I like everything but Screamo. I hate Screamo.
That's fair.
Screamo is awful. I like having a pleasant voice. Well, not necessarily pleasant.
You made me
voice.
listen to Bright Eyes Lifted, so that's not true.
To me, Bright Eye's voice is fine. He just has a warble to his voice. It's
It's a very charitable description. Very charitable.
But you're like, I don't like screaming, particularly high pitched screaming. The low guttural stuff I can handle more as long as it's used
See, I feel
sparingly.
like that about singing in general. Like, even in opera, he knows I really don't. I'm going to get crucified for this statement, but I hate sopranos. Like, I'm a
but I get
baritone
it.
tenor person.
I get it, because that's where I am too. Again, it's a weird thing. We shouldn't not like that. I mean, we're
It's
supposed
so
to.
respected and prestiged, and I'm like,
But, give me the alto and the mezzo soprano.
hit that high C, then you hit that note that hits that resonant frequency of the glass, and it just shatters in the person's hand. And
Yeah, it's a neat party trick, but it's not fun to listen to for an hour.
yeah, no, thank you.
But like I come from the world of talk radio where I value improvisation and talking extemporaneously, and you prepare. So it's a very interesting thing to see because Jeremy is meticulous, and this is why, like you can see, RPG fan, and then you have the Sonic the Hedgehog blast through. Everything is fly by the seat of the pants.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a weird kind of thing how we all have these different kinds of personalities in here.
he also wins a lot of arguments that way, though.
He does, which is annoying to me because I think about these things constantly, all the time, but he just writes it down.
He writes it down. We've had conversations that are like legit small theses, and I'm like, I just didn't write any of it down.
Nah, I should have recorded this conversation.
Yeah. Another thing with video games is like biggest thing I don't like things like Tetris. I hate Tetris. I'm a dyslexic person, and it just messes with my mind because like I was like, okay, I know exactly what I need to do, and I do it the opposite direction.
Oh.
When I'm thinking, it's like probably the most miserable game I have ever played in my entire life is a little Dreamcast game called Choo Choo Rocket.
Okay.
What that game is it's a very simple game, is little mice come out of holes and you try to guide the mice to your goal to score points.
Sounds interminably awful.
It's actually a very fun multiplayer party game.
Ugh,
So-
I
Oh,
hate
God.
those so much.
So
Shouldn't tell you that.
You lost both of us.
if you have 4 players, it gets chaotic and people start cracking up. And I eventually, well,
I'm just imagining a Discomfort Zone party game right now.
Oh no! Oh, Lord!
I have some good party games for you.
God.
But I'm a fan of party games. But the big thing with Choo Choo Rocket, it is so incredibly fast-paced. You have mice going everywhere. You have 3 other players placing their arrows around. It's a very simple game. You move with your analog stick. You place the arrows down with the face buttons. And I always get it wrong. And it starts moving so fast-paced, I just give up and I start going around the board placing random arrows to screw up other people.
Oh gosh!
I was like, I can't handle this anymore.
Oh my gosh!
So Jeremy also likes screwing with people.
Now we know what kind of party game player he is.
Exactly.
Well, yeah. If
Oh,
if I
God.
start getting miserable, yeah, I'll start messing with people big time. That's what.
That explains
I've-
so much about you.
We're not going to do Mario Party. That's for darn sure.
Oh man, I love Mario Party, but I play to win.
Yeah, oh.
I'm just kidding.
Oh no. Oh
Mario
gosh.
Mario Kart. You know, I love my Mario
So I'm getting
Kart.
a Switch.
and-
I can bring it over here. Like,
Yeah, you're gonna have.
I
to.
got my Switch. We can
okay,
go.
we can bring the Switches.
That's cool.
So video game wise, is like I don't want any of that puzzle crap. So
Yeah, I know. That's
now,
why
now,
So,
like
can I-
regular,
Use some awful ones.
regular pace, like standard adventure puzzles.
Okay, you're okay with that.
I love that. I love being able to piece together a puzzle in my own time.
Because
Okay.
like my legit next question was like, so how do you feel like about games like Zelda Ocarina of Time? Like, was that too puzzly for you, or
No, that's one of my favorite games
okay?
of all
So
time.
not that kind of puzzle.
Yeah, not that kind of puzzle. The ones that set the pace for me. I can't handle when it's just like bam, 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 things falling
timers.
constantly.
Yeah, I'm giving you Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine one of these days.
Oh gosh, I hate that game.
Why would you
I
do
know.
that? Why would you?
Yeah.
Why would we say
Because
this?
it's a great game, and he has to get out of his comfort zone.
I
Sadistic
hate that
humans.
game. I hate Dr. Mario. I hate
Oh, Dr. Mario is
Yoshi's
fucking
Cookie.
terrible.
I hate.
Dr. Mario, you bite your lips, you heathens! The greatest puzzle game of all time will not be besmirched in my studio.
Tetris.
It's not as good. It's good, but it's not as good.
I was
love
like,
Tetris, but
what? It makes me sad because I would love to get into something like Tetris 99, but I literally am miserable while I play that game. I just feel miserable because it starts moving too fast for my brain, and it's like I don't know how to put all this together.
But I think this is
And
interesting because I'm getting a picture of a person who analyzes things very thoroughly. But the thing is that once something's kind of out of your control in terms of speed, it's not a comfortable thing.
Meanwhile,
It's not-
Sonic the Hedgehog over
Yeah.
here.
Meanwhile, oh gosh, yeah, please give me, I played Super Mario Brothers. Like, do you have anything that runs faster? And like, allow me to pull my Genesis out, young man. And
Yes.
there's,
Well, the funny thing is, the first thing I tried to challenge you to was Portal.
Yeah.
Because you were like, oh, I hate puzzle games. So I was like, obviously, Portal is the obvious answer. And you're like, oh, I love Portal.
because you have time to think.
Yeah.
And now it makes sense. That
Yeah.
makes sense now.
I have plenty of time to analyze it.
You can sit in that room
and
all
put
day.
it
like,
together.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna-
exactly.
Yeah, there's
Exactly.
very little time-based stuff in Portal.
And I get to play around with it and just see if I could create a way of solving it that they didn't mean for me to solve it.
Yeah.
I love that.
Oh, yeah, that's the most fun.
That's
That's
why
cool.
Breath of the Wild's probably at least in my top 5 favorite games of all times, because they gave you tons of puzzles and told you any way you want to figure this out, you can.
Jeremy's just like
So-
paradise.
Jeremy's heaven.
Paradise.
Oh
over
gosh,
there.
I am so excited for this the sequel. It's going to be amazing. Then when it comes to like I went over TVs and movies, how I prefer opposite things. That's why I love The Simpsons. Simpsons is my favorite TV
So-
show of all time. Is
So
because
deep
something I could
movies and fluff TV.
yeah.
Whereas
exactly.
I'm like deep TV and no movies.
What's
essentially?
What's funny about that is like Simpsons is actually really deep. They
It
have
is.
really random mathematics jokes in there, and Futurama same way. But the thing is, you don't have to get into any of those details to understand any of it.
But you do. You like going into the details.
Gosh, yeah, no,
See? Now we're getting
I got a birthday present a couple years back. It was Simpsons and math, and it goes season by season and tells you pretty much every math joke that's inside of Simpsons. So
That's
Meanwhile, I have the Hannibal cookbook.
amazing. That's not good news at all. That's terrifying,
A
actually.
beautiful cookbook.
All right, so we've got the dichotomy. We've got the philosopher, snooty person.
Pretentious.
Pretentious. That's the word I was looking for. And we have the analyst. So I think you're gonna got a complete picture of all of us. At least I hope you have, because if you haven't been listening or watching. In which case, welcome. We're glad that you were out doing whatever it was you were doing while listening to us. But now that the cycle of attention has come back to us, we'll tell you that it's over. This podcast is over, but you can listen to it again or listen to another one.
Give us another listen, you know?
That's right. Listen to it again. In fact, even if you just were listening the whole time, just listen again. You'll find little nuggets of things. They're called Easter eggs, which because you're a nerd like us. We are the Casual Fanatics. This is the Discomfort Zone. We'll get into the discomforting stuff in more episodes, but if there are things that you want to challenge us to that you think after all that description that, hey, these guys would like this, or they wouldn't like this, or this will really make them hurt, because we are hurting each other a lot with this. Until next time, we are the Casual Fanatics. I'm Paul Stadden, Sydney Johnson, Jeremy Brazell.
Toodaloo.